But you mentioned about asking about whether or not we are seeing a shift in power within the NBA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's an absolute yes for me, and we've been seeing that for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I would agree.
So,
so here's the reason I brought up that question is that it seems like the media will pitch that question just to stir up the pot. Very similar to like Jordan, LeBron, like who do you pick? Like they do it to stir up some sort of reaction, which I understand.
Right.
But the reason why I have an issue with that is because we can look at different decades and different eras. There was always a wealth of talent. So why is it that we only, like, it seems like nowadays we make it all about one person being the face of the league. But if we go back and look at the 90s, of course, we know Jordan was king, but you still had Penny Hardaway. You had Larry Johnson. I mean, like
Charles Barkley,
Charles Barkley,
Stockton,
exactly.
Olajuwon,
Hakeem. Scottie Pippen, even though I got issues with what he's been saying lately.
He's just crazy. That's why.
Yeah. Grant Hill, Gary Payton. I mean, like there were so many like great players that were household names. You know what I'm saying? So, but now it seems like everyone's so focused on finding the guy, the face of the league, because in many people's minds, LeBron has been that guy. But I can name other players that are, in equal footing, if not right, or close to where LeBron was as far as like popularity or, being an all around talent, So I find it interesting that, it seemed more like a media driven narrative about, power shift, the face, when you can celebrate, individual players for the unique talents. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. But here's what I'll say about that too also. And think about this too also. One can argue that we haven't really had much too many faces in the league to think about it. In the 75 plus years rich history of the NBA. While you may have players who are the best player in the league for a year or 2, 3 years, there's been some eras which hasn't been so definitive. Like, for example, you go through the 60s, obviously Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and all that.
Yep.
In the 70s, there was not a definitive best player in basketball. There wasn't a definitive face of the league. Like you would say Kareem was best player in the league, but Kareem was also not very friendly with the media. So a lot of times
I would argue Julius Erving was the guy.
And even that's complicated because he was in the ABA for the first like half of that decade.
Yeah.
So I would argue Magic and Bird shared that role for the 80s. And then Jordan took that over probably in late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
After that, people say Kobe, Shaq, or Duncan. I would argue because of Kobe's legal issues in 2003, he was never really the face of the league because of that stuff in Colorado. Because even though he was the best player for a couple of years, he was never really the face of the league because of that stuff hanging over his head.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me. I was watching Shaq's podcast and Draymond Green was on there talking about it, and Shaq said,
I saw that.
Why is that? Kobe's never mentioned as one of the GOATs with Jordan and LeBron, and I actually agreed with what Draymond said. I said, or he had said that Kobe won 3 titles with Shaq, like that was a main point of criticism against him, and then you had LeBron coming into the league in 2003. And then you had the legal issues, like you said, in Eagle, Colorado.
Yeah.
And then, for a couple of years, like the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, like they missed the playoffs. And then it wasn't until they, stole pretty much like got Pau Gasol for free once they traded Kwame Brown.
Right. And not only that,
the other players.
Kobe Bryant was the best player in the league when the Lakers weren't good.
Exactly. I mean, that it was 05-06 is when he was averaging 35 and he dropped to 81.
And they were not good.
Yeah. They sucked.
Yeah. So and by the time they got good again, LeBron's face of the league at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it was 08, 09 that it was 07, 08 is when Lakers lost to the Celtics. Right. Then 08, 09 they beat the Magic, and then 09, 10 is when the Lakers beat the Celtics. So
right.
So there was a stretch there where there was a lot of things happening at one time. But like you said, even then during the 2000s, like there's several players that were worthy of being the face of the league, and everyone was kind of fighting, like kind of jockeying for position. But then once LeBron came in the league, like they pretty much handed him, the crown at that point.
But LeBron. The reason why LeBron, whether or not we like it or not, LeBron is, with LeBron, it always felt definitive.
Yeah.
But Kobe did not feel definitive, but Shaq didn't feel definitive because Shaq was the best player for a couple of years, but that was just 2-3 years and he was gone. LeBron has been the best player, has been the face of the league because he's the guy that has the most attention to this day. At age 39 years old, turning 40 in December, he's still, any news about him like becoming a free agent, whatever it may be, is massive news to this day.
So I'll tell you, I think where the media or the public perception changed for Kobe is when he came out for the Redeem Team. Like if anyone saw the documentary, like like he's in the thick of the, like you said, the going to court and all that stuff. But then when he set the tone at practice of like, hey, like I'm gonna set the tone. Like we're gonna have edge. We're not gonna repeat what happened in Athens. All that. That's when people were like, okay, like Kobe's really that dude. Like the Lakers may not be there yet, but Kobe's still the guy. Like he's the guy.
Right.
And you saw LeBron saying that, you saw Wade saying that, Melo, several people, Coach K, like several people started speaking up on his behalf. And then we saw what he did. I mean, he was a huge part of them winning the gold medal in 08. I think around that time is when it started to change. And it's unfortunate because that's a huge gap from 04 to 08, those 4 years. Yeah.
To me, being in face of the league has to do a lot with needle moving.
Yeah, day. For sure.
Moving the needle in which way? LeBron James for the last 20 years has moved the needle in ways that we haven't seen since Jordan.
Right.
Even if you hate LeBron James, that's more reason he moves the needle because he gives a reaction either negative or positive. The fact that you go out of your way to say he's not the GOAT, for example, this is what the haters now. Only proves why he's in the conversation for being the GOAT because you're emotional about the other way of the argument. That therefore, that makes the argument now. If you just ignored him, didn't talk about him, then he's not moving the needle anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why fair. LeBron James in that top two discussion for me always. So
okay, all right. So he would be on. I know where I'm kind of sliding into topic here, but he would be on your Mount Rushmore, NBA.
He has to be
top
right?
two. If he's top two, like you said, he's in your Mount Rushmore.
It's complicated because like I've always felt that Mount Rushmore does not necessarily mean best players of all time. To me, maybe the most impactful players. And to me, I would argue Steph Curry, what he's done in the last 10, 15 years with his shooting has changed the game of basketball in the last generation.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Steph Curry's in my top 10, not my top 5, but I would argue he's in Mount Rushmore because he's changed the game.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, there's no definitive Mount Rushmore for NBA for me yet. Like, obviously, you go, obviously, George on there, of course. You gotta get a Russell because Russell was that guy before in that era. Yeah. Then it gets complicated with the Magic Bird thing. Like, if you could do like a Magic Bird split, cool. Split like statue, that's 3. Yeah. And then you can go either Steph or LeBron as the 4th guy.
Interesting. Okay, so I have my 4, and I've been pretty set with it for like the last, I would say, like 5-7 years. My Mount Rushmore's been intact. And you named 2 of them already. Jordan and Russell are for sure on there.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Wow.
That to me is a perfect 4.
Interesting.
And again, you can make argument like you said. If I could split a statue between Magic and Bird, I would do it. I could see the argument for LeBron and for Steph.
I think Mount Rushmore though for me is more about affecting, like I said, needle moving. Who moves the needle? Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a top 3 all-time player for me, but in terms of commerce outside of basketball, he didn't move the needle in the same way that LeBron has or Jordan has, or those guys. And obviously because he didn't want to. Same with Tim Duncan. Yeah. Tim Duncan is literally a Ray Allen for being 6-0 in the finals. And we don't even consider him in the top 5 because he wasn't exciting. He wasn't moving commerce in the same way that Jordan and Kobe did. He just showed him play basketball.
He's definitely top 10 for sure.
I haven't had a Kobe on my list, to be honest with you.
Say that last part.
I have Duncan. I had a Kobe on my list actually. I have number 7.
I'm actually not mad at that because I've compared their careers before, and there's a lot of overlap. and similarities.
It's just consistency. Consistency.
Yeah, it's the consistency that's different. Yeah,
you can't say rings because you can't say rings because they're about the same amount of rings.
Yeah, and I want to say I have to go back and look. I saw this somewhere. I think every season that Duncan played, they always won at least 50 games a season.
Well, put it this way.
But besides the lockout year, I think that would have been 99 was the lockout.
No, the stat was either that or he never missed the playoffs ever in his career.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That may have been what I've seen. Is
Kobe
like during the regular season.
Yeah. Kobe can't say that. Neither Jordan.
Yep, that's true.
Or LeBron, for that matter.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So,
when you think about that.
But in terms of power shift in the NBA, we're seeing power shift within the NBA in terms of within the basketball world. In terms of who's face the league, I would still argue LeBron's still face the league because we still talk about like he's still the best player in basketball. And I don't think that would change until he retires, honestly. Until he's gone.
Well, so I do agree with you. I think when he leaves, I think there'll be more appreciation, but a lot of media outlets, ESPN being the biggest culprit here.
Yeah.
There's just so much, like, LeBron has become how you feel about the Attitude Era. We know he's great, but there's just so much romanticizing of LeBron. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that he's played 20, 21 years in the league and he's still performing at an elite level. Yeah. But they tend to gloss over other things that he did wrong.
Depends who you talk to.
As a whole.
No, I think you get equal energy on both ends of the argument. Like for every for every person that praises LeBron on in the media, LeBron this and that, ESPN, kissing his ass every minute or you do have a Skip Bayless who sits there and criticizes him to the hilt.
Yeah.
Fair, unfair. Well, unfair mostly in my opinion, because to me, Skip Bayless is a clown. So you get the equal emotion, different sides of the argument because LeBron.
Yeah. So
you don't get
so you think it balances out because of that? Yeah.
So like the people, the reason why people like this is why I get pissed at people who hate LeBron so much. Like you are so mad about the stands of LeBron, but they react that way because you guys are heavy handed on one end of the argument that the other side has to be feels like they have to be heavy handed on the other side as well too in the argument. That's why. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it leaves no nuance in the conversation.
Okay. So again, you kind of bringing it full circle as far as like the shift in power. I agree with you. Like LeBron's been the guy for the last
15,
close to 2 decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who do we think is going to be like possibly the face of the league, or could it be 1, 2, 3 players that share it?
It's funny because I don't know if any of these guys right now that are currently on my top 5 or 10 right now are necessarily face of the league. A lot of it too, I don't know if they'll move the needle in the same way LeBron did. LeBron's story is very interesting. Best player is Nikola Jokic. He has no interest in being in the face of the league. He has no interest in being that guy. He doesn't want to be that guy. He wants to play basketball.
He's like the new school Tim Duncan for us.
Correct. So number 2 on the list, Steph Curry is facing out now. He's still top 5, top 10 player in the league, but he's not the same guy. He's on the back end of his career. You have Luka. We'll see how that plays out, but Luka has a lot of detractors too because of he whines a lot and all this kind of stuff. I mean, Ant-Man is probably the only on the guy that probably has a chance to be that way. But we're kind of like at this point now where let's for example, let's say that LeBron retires this summer. Let's just play it real quick. LeBron retires this summer. We're kind of back to like 1999, 2000, where no Jordan. So now we have all these great talented players, but no one's really the definitive face of the league. We're kind of back to there again, in a sense. So that's why LeBron is almost the default answer, because LeBron still moves the needle in ways that no player in this league has done it since Michael Jordan. And I'm not talking about on the court. I'm talking about off the court as well too.
Mm-hmm.
He still does at 39 years old, and that's why he's in the conversation of greatest of all time.
Okay. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I think you may be right. I think we may be in that transition phase where
the lull.
Yeah. The 2020s may be like the 2000s, where you have several players that are great and they're all kind of jockeying for position, but nobody is the the clear standout yet. Like it's yet to be determined who's.
And it is not just also winning on the court and also all that. Because look, Tim Duncan won a lot of rings, but he wasn't the face of the league because the personality didn't really, you know what I'm saying? It just didn't grab the same way.
Yeah,
like Shaq had a couple years.
Personality.
Right. Now look, if Shaq, let's say you put Shaq's career and Tim Duncan's career, swap them out. Now you got a conversation there. Because you have the 5 rings, the consistent winning, and then on top of that, the personality.
Yeah. Ooh, If you give Shaq Duncan's career and you take the personality and all that, then I would say like he should be no lower than 3 at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. So we haven't seen a face of the league since Michael Jordan.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's the bottom line, in my opinion, anyway.
No, I'm with you. And again, like you said, people are going to argue LeBron, which I totally get. But as far as like, I mean, I know I'm going to sound like an old head when I say this, but like you had to be outside when Jordan was at his peak. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you say you sound like an old head, but I am an old head. So.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I mean, you were a kid when you were in your teenage years during the.
Dude, I watched all the Jordan rings in real time.
Crazy.
I watched those finals in real time.
Yeah.
From 91 to 98.
I was old enough to remember watching the second three-peat because again I was in diapers during the first three-peat. Yeah. So
I remember where I was all 6 titles. I remember I watched all those games live. I know exactly where I was all 6 titles.
That's so dope, man.
And I hate the Bulls as a kid, for the record. I'm not a Bulls fan. Never been.
Okay, so who's your team back then?
I'm still a Heat fan to this day.
Okay, all right. So you were rocking with
Ronnie Cycli, Glenn Rice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I go way back. I go way back, man.
All right.
I don't play around, man. I don't play around.
We'll see. No, Tim Hardaway was more late
mid 2000s, mid 90s, yeah, 96.
Yeah.
She got traded there. He got traded 96. Yeah.
Man.
So I was in before then. So
wow.
Anyway, Chris, great